Very good evening. This is the news at 9, coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst Centre here in Colombo. This is Newsfirst, Sri Lanka's premier news brand. I'm Zola Outskun.
And I'm Nicola D'Souza. We start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
I will reintroduce the death penalty if need be to stem crime in the country. A statement from the Justice Minister during a meeting with the Chief Prelates. Opposition leader accuses new government of being biased in enforcing the law. Mayor of Kaduwela calls for the law to be enforced against former Minister Wimal Weerawansa. Employees of the Attanagala Pradesha Sabha take to the streets against the police.
Police are searching for a 1-year and 9-month-old girl who was reported missing from Veerawatta Anguratota in Horana. The police media spokesperson's office says that the child had gone missing shortly after her mother had fed her and had gone into the kitchen to wash her hands. The police said that no information has come to light as yet regarding the whereabouts of this child.
Stock market indices showed a significant drop over the past few days to a 5-month low. Market analysts point out that this situation had arisen along with the introduction of the super gains tax at the recently presented interim budget of the new government. However, Minister of Finance Ravi Karunanayake says that the reason for the situation to rise in the stock market was the artificial rise in selected share prices.
The all-share price index declined by 179.99 points or 2.51% yesterday. The ASPI fell to its lowest in 5 months. The new government in its interim budget presented last Thursday introduced a super gains tax, which is a tax that will be imposed on any company or individual who has earned profits over Rs 2,000 million in the tax year 2013 or 2014. Thereby, market analysts point out that along with the introduction of the super gains tax, the share prices of the companies that fall under the Colombo Stock Exchange had seen a drastic drop.
Presented interim budget was certainly a populist budget, and it was in line with the Unite Party's manifesto. But unlike previous populist budgets, they funded it through taxation, especially the larger corporate, and that was defined as a super profit above 2 billion rupees. So most of these companies are the larger market cap companies, and because they have a larger index representation, the uncertainty and potential loss in profits has had a precipitous impact on the index, and that is why it has come off about 5%. That is not indicative of the broader market. So my sense is that it is volatility brought upon by uncertainty of who will get caught in this tax net and a kind of change in policy, because the government has stated that they are against certain business people who had been aligned with the previous regime, and these people's companies are represented in the market. But my general view is that the outlook for inflation is very benign going forward, and therefore interest rates are going to remain low for the entirety of 2015, and you will see yield-seeking investors coming back to equities. But it will be more stock pickers market than a broad rally in equities.
The reason for the stock prices to fall is due to the artificial values portrayed during the Rajapaksa regime. In the past, the system was run by a group of rogues, but today we have brought it to the correct path. Today the correct value has been given to these institutions. However, this value will reduce further. We need to rectify this error, and we will be taking action against those who engage in such fraud. We request investors to not be deceived by these actions. We will bring about a fair price in the market and uplift the economy of this country.
The U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for South and Central Asian Affairs Nisha Desai Biswal met with a group of political representatives this morning.
Biswal met with a group of representatives from the Tamil National Alliance at the official residence of the Ambassador of the United States and discussed a number of matters. TNA Parliamentary Group Leader R. Sambandhan and the Chief Minister of the Northern Province C.V. Vigneswaran were among those present at the discussion. Later, Nizar Desai Biswal met with the leader of the Muslim Congress, Minister Rauf Hakim, at his official residence. The purpose of these discussions was to obtain the views of various communities and to discuss matters pertaining to proposed constitutional amendments and the advancement of good governance under the new government.
Significant feature of the comment by the US delegation was that though there are resolutions and reports to be filed in Geneva, there is an opportunity for the government by its actions taken domestically to shift the focus from Geneva to what happens here, and that is a very reassuring comment. Though there had been no specific comment of what was going to happen and what was to be discussed in Geneva, we were pleased to see that they had a very positive image of the way in which things are developing in this country.
The SLMC leader also spoke of establishing a government in the Eastern Province following his meeting with Nisha Biswal. He made this statement in response to questions raised by journalists.
With
regard to forming a government in the Eastern Provincial Council, the UPFA General Secretary Susil Premajayantha has informed us that the alliance will support the appointment of an SLMC Chief Minister. Since they have an agreement with us, they have decided to honour it and have agreed to give the Chief Ministerial position to us. We are also hopeful of receiving the support of the UNP. I held talks with the UNP leadership this morning. At the same time, we hope that the TNA too will be stakeholders in our government in the Board of Ministers. Through this, we hope to establish an all-party government in the Eastern Province.
Meanwhile, speaking to Newsfirst this evening, TNA Parliamentary Group leader R. Sambandhan had this to say on the matter of the Eastern Provincial Council.
We came in second in the election. There was a gap of only 6,000 votes between us and the ruling party. The gap between the Muslim Congress and us was 61,000 votes. We were placed first in 2 of the 3 districts in the province. They failed to come first in even 1 district. It is our stance that we should be given preference in this matter. They lost their mandate. They do not have a mandate to form an administration. We say that the chief ministerial position must be given to the TNA, and we believe that we will take up ministerial postings as well in the province. We are hopeful of the support of the UNP in this matter. We believe that this should happen in keeping with the mandate that has been given by the people. At the concluded presidential election, we all embraced the opposition candidate as one. We opposed the previous government from the beginning. Unlike them, we did not stick to that government and then leave at the last moment. Our people and us have come forward amid all the pressures brought to bear by the former government of Mahinda Rajapaksa. We are calling for justice and law now. We did not stick to that government and leave at the last moment. We believe that all should be united in this matter. As far as we are concerned, our people are patient. We recognize the rights of the Muslim people and we are always prepared to recognize their rights. Therefore, we believe that they should comprehend the truth of this matter moving forward.
அவர் அமைதியை பின்பற்றுவார்கள். முஸ்லிம் மக்களுடைய உரிமைகளை நாங்கள் மதிக்கின்றவர்கள், நாங்கள் மதிப்பதற்கு எப்பொழுதும் தயாராக இருக்கின்றோம். அதனால் அவர்கள் உண்மையை உணர்ந்து செயல்பட வேண்டும் என்று
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will travel to Sri Lanka in March, where he is likely to travel to Jaffna as well.
Quoting Indian officials, the Hindu newspaper reported that this would be the first bilateral visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Sri Lanka in 25 years, the last bilateral visit being by the late Rajiv Gandhi in 1987. Former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was in Colombo in 2008 to attend the SAARC summit and hand over its chairmanship to the then President Mahinda Rajapaksa. However, he skipped the Commonwealth summit that Sri Lanka hosted in November 2013. The high-level visit is likely to cover a lot of ground on a host of bilateral and strategic issues.
In some news that we have just received now, police say that vehicular movement along the Kandy-Mahayangani A26 highway has come to a standstill owing to landslides. And the police urge the public to use alternative roads. Moving on to more local news this evening, Minister of Justice Vijayananda Rajapaksa, speaking to the chief prelates in Kandy today, said that he is ready to reintroduce the gallows in order to stem the crime wave.
The Minister of Justice called on the Chief Prelate of the Askeri chapter, the Most Venerable Udugama Sri Buddha Rakita Thero, and explained the current status of the country.
When the law is being misused by higher officials, we cannot expect the low-level persons to adhere to the law. That is the way of the world. We are trying our best to remove this corruption which comes combined with politics. If we are unable to do so, we will reintroduce the death penalty and bring about a country that is in line with the Dhamma, and we will bring about a peaceful country for the people of this country.
The Minister of Justice later called on the Chief Prelate of the Malwathu chapter, the Most Venerable Tibbatuavi Sri Sumangala Thero.
If there is a crime wave, if it goes out of control, or if it is not stemmed to our satisfaction, then we will go as far as reintroducing the gallows to enforce the law in this country and create an environment where all citizens can live in freedom.
Well, now that was Minister of Justice Vijaydas Rajapaksa, who spoke to the Chief Prelates in Kandy today and said that he is ready to reintroduce the gallows in order to stem the crime wave.
The debate on the special statement made by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe regarding the position of Chief Justice on Friday commenced last afternoon and lasted through to the night. Here are a few excerpts from the debate.
ඔක්කොම පිස්සු වැඩ කළා දැන් කියනවා ඒ පිස්සු වැඩ දැන් ඉදිරියට නවත්තමු.
කිව්වේ නැද්ද ඔබතුමාත් එරෙහි වුණා නේද මොහන් පීරිස් මැතිතුමා පත් කිරීම පිළිබඳව?
මම ඒක කියන්නේ නැහැ දැන්.
I will say it now. I'm going to say it. If an impeachment motion against Mohan Peiris had been brought into this chamber, I would have testified in favour. There is a reason for that. I wrote to the Speaker as well as asking that he not be appointed. I submitted this to the President as well, but he was appointed nonetheless. I will not speak a word in favour of Mohan Peiris. I'm speaking on behalf of Parliament, on behalf of the people's supremacy in Parliament. That is why I'm saying that you suppressed everything, played the fool, and are now coming here and saying let's stop playing the fool.
යටපත් කළා පිස්සු කෙලලා මේ දැංගවිත් කියනවා පිස්සුව නවත්තමු කියලා.
ඔබ විවාදයේ කොයි පැත්තේ හිටියත් අපිට අලුත් මාර්ගයක් දැන් තියෙනවා.
No matter which side of the debate you are on, there is a new path before us now. Our senior most judge, Justice K. Sripavan, has been appointed the Chief Justice. I wish to note that this is a new beginning. It is the beginning of the independence of the judiciary.
අධිකරණයේ ස්වාධීනත්වයේ අද මුල කියලා මම සඳහන් කරන්නට ඕනේ.
මෙතන මොහන් පීරිස් මහත්මයා හොරකම් කරනවද? එහෙම නැත්නම් එයාගේ
Is Mohan Peiris thieving? Is he hearing cases against his wife? Is he operating business? This is not what is relevant here. No matter what he has done, Mohan Peiris is the Chief Justice of the country. While he was functioning as Chief Justice for 2 years, not one of these points were raised clearly in public. Without any such statement being made, you have suddenly felt the need to remove him. If you wanted to remove him, what you should have done was bring a motion to this Parliament.
ගරු කතානායකතුමා විසින් තේරීම් කාරක සභාවක් පත් කෙරුවා. ඒ තේරීම් කාරක සභාවේ සභාපතිවරයා විසින් මට වැඩ කරන්න ලැබුණා.
The Honourable Speaker appointed a select committee, and it fell to me to function as the chairman of this committee. While the select committee was in session, instead of making submissions against the PSC's decision, Shirani Bandaranaike's lawyers stood up and walked out. That is why we presented this report. We reported to this House that charges 14 and 5 had been proven.
සභාවට අපි වාර්තා කෙරුවා.
මේ දෙකම එකයි. දෙවනි අතුරු විධානය අනුව ගේන යෝජනාවත් එකමයි. හත්වෙනි අතුරු යෝජනාව ජනාධිපතිතුමාට වැරදිකාරයෙකු බවට පත් කරලා ගේන්න ඕන යෝජනාවත් එකමයි.
Both of these are the same. The order under the second interim order is the same as the seventh interim motion that should be brought forward to the President that the person has been found guilty. You are lawyers and we are lawyers. The Speaker is not a lawyer. The Secretary is not a lawyer. They act in accordance with instruction, and the Speaker received a sudden instruction. I believe the Speaker was under great pressure following that instruction. It was a decision taken by the President and the relevant powerful ministers, so he gave a decision in concurrence with that. Honourable Ministers, if we consider how this process transpired, if it was lawyers taking the decision, they would have shown it far more consideration. I say that if the lawyers who advised the Speaker back then and if the Leader of the House back then are here, they should explain this. This was wrong. A motion was not presented in Parliament under Order 7 finding this person guilty.
We are not staying patient for nothing. We have the majority in this Parliament. You are a minority government. Those ministries and courts can all be taken off in 24 hours. Remember that we will teach you how it can be taken away in 24 hours. Minister, remember that we have the majority.
Turning our attention towards the developing story this evening, opposition leader Nimal Siripala de Silva says that the people have appointed a new government in order to correct the past mistakes. Speaking during a visit to the Valikad prison today, the opposition leader also noted, however, that the current government has enforced the law with bias in certain instances.
A group including opposition leader Nimal Siripala de Silva visited Tissa Athanayaka and Premalal Jayasekara, who are being held in remand custody at the Valikad prison.
Tissa Athanayaka මැතිතුමාට එරෙහිව ඉදිරිපත් කළා තියෙන චෝදනාව.
As a lawyer, I am aware that the charge against Tissa Athanayaka is a bailable offence. So we believe that he will be granted bail soon, and we hope that the government will not interfere in that process. But we can see that in enforcing the law, certain persons in the police and others are acting with bias. A Minister of Law and Order has been appointed, and in truth, he must carry out his service by steering the police appropriately. We cannot see such a thing happening. Why has the government been changed? Is the media too saying that since these things are done in the past, what is being done now is correct? The mechanism must be established to ensure good governance. There may be people who made mistakes in the past. We are not denying it.
Our experience in this country over the recent past is that the sitting government has always established a police force, judiciary and institutional system that is favourable to them. Instead of meting out true justice and upholding the rule of law, they have always established a police force that bows to them. There is no reason for this to happen in our country. Just as Siripala said, when they were in government, they undermined the judiciary to an extent where it bowed to their every whim. The Rajapaksa regime had gone as far as changing judges who didn't give verdicts in their favour and even attacking the court. The police functioned as a branch committee of ministers like Wimal Weerawansa in the previous government, and in the recent past they never brought any of those people who had committed crimes before the law. Their policy was to protect criminals who would be found guilty before the law. There is no reason for this to recur in our country. We are extremely happy that Siripala has realised this, even if it is in hindsight.
සිරිපාල මහත්මයාට පසුව හරි එම තත්ත්වය අවබෝධ වීම පිළිබඳව අපි බෙහෙන්ම සතුටු වෙනවා.